Welcome to today's explainer. Okay, let's just dive right into this. We're doing something a little different today, something absolutely crucial if you're one of those people who wakes up and instantly feels a heavy wave of anxiety washing over you. We're going to walk through a guided morning reflection together. The goal here? To set a truly calming, deliberate tone for your day and shift your perspective from that early morning dread to a place of absolute peace. So before we go any further, take a deep breath, kind of just clear your mind for a second, and let's step out of the shadow and into the light together.
Now, think about this question. What if? Man, it's such a tiny phrase, but it carries literally so much weight. The reality of how anxiety operates is that fear almost never announces itself with a loud shout, right? Instead, it creeps in. Think about your morning routine for a second. Before your feet even hit the floor, those shadows start infiltrating. They slip into your very first thoughts, they start clouding your early decisions, and suddenly they're building this massive mountain of what-ifs for the day ahead. What if I totally mess up this presentation? What if that hard conversation goes sideways? What if I just can't handle the pressure today? Fear acts exactly like a creeping shadow, trying to cover your entire day in darkness before you've even had your coffee.
So how do we actually counter that creeping shadow? Well, that brings us to the ultimate anchor for our reflection today. It's from Psalm chapter 27, verse 1. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? Now, here's a really vital distinction we need to wrap our heads around. This verse, it doesn't promise that you won't face scary things today. It absolutely does not promise some magical absence of challenges or difficulties. But what it does is actually much more profound. It completely removes fear's authority. Because God is identified here as your light and your salvation. That fear that jolted you awake this morning, it no longer gets to dictate your actions. It literally loses its power over you. And that leads us to this incredibly powerful comparison: overwhelming in the dark versus exposed in the light. Because think about it, light fundamentally changes the atmosphere of a room. It exposes whatever is hiding. It's like a kid who's completely terrified of a shadow in their bedroom at night, right? In the dark, it looks like a monster. It feels totally insurmountable. But the second you flip that light switch on, it's just a pile of laundry. Our morning anxieties operate the exact same way. The stuff that felt overwhelmingly massive when hidden in the dark of our worried minds simply doesn't look the same once light is present. The light forces the fear to lose its terrifying shape. Okay, let's get super practical for a second. What does it actually mean for your day to have God as your light? Well, it really boils down to three incredibly comforting realities. Number one, you are not walking blindly. The light provides clarity for your very next step, even if you can't see the entire staircase yet. Number two, you are not unprotected. You weren't just wandering out into the open to be picked off by whatever challenges pop up today. And number three, you are absolutely not alone. Anxiety desperately wants to isolate you. It wants you to feel like it's just you against the whole world. But walking in the light, it completely dismantles that isolation. These are three solid pillars you can lean on the second you step out your front door.
Now, looking back at our anchor verse, it specifically mentioned two things: light and salvation. We've talked a lot about the light, but we have to give equal weight to that word, salvation. Because in this context, it doesn't just mean a light politely pointing the way from a safe distance. No, this salvation is an active, continuous process. It means covering, keeping, and delivering. This implies that the light is actively shielding you right now. It is maintaining and preserving you through the keeping process. And when those creeping shadows do try to surround you, because we know they'll try, it is actively delivering you from them. It is a highly protective, dynamic force for your entire day. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the specific name introduced here to deepen our understanding. It's the Hebrew name Jehovah Ori, which translates directly to the Lord my light. Pay attention to the grammar there. It is so vital to emphasize that this is not some distant, generalized light. We're not talking about just the light of the universe out there floating in the cosmos somewhere. It is your light. By grounding our reflection in this very specific characteristic, you are being invited to take this incredibly personally. This isn't just some abstract theological concept. It's a personalized reality, designed specifically for your morning and your exact anxieties. Building right off that beautiful name, there are three defining characteristics of Jehovah Ori: personal, present, and constant. So what does this actually mean for you right now? It means that even when your mind is completely crowded with unread emails, to-do lists, and heavy obligations, even when your path forward today feels foggy and unclear, this light remains intimate, steady, and illuminating. It doesn't flicker when you get stressed out. It doesn't dim down when your what-ifs get super loud. Be reassured that this personal light is a constant presence that simply refuses to be snuffed out by whatever is trying to overwhelm you today.
So here's a highly impactful reflection point to lock in right now.
Light replaces fear when you remember who is walking with you. This is the ultimate shift in perspective we've been building toward. And it's an active mental exercise, guys. When the anxiety hits, and it will, the goal isn't necessarily to fight it head on, relying on just your own willpower. Instead, the goal is to pivot your attention, to remember the constant personal presence of Jehovah Ori walking right beside you. In that exact moment of recognition, the light just naturally replaces the fear. I actually want to slow down our pacing right here for a second. Just let this profound question linger. Read it to yourself. What fear have I been holding on to that I need to release in the presence of God's light? We've talked about the theory, we've walked through the concepts, but right now, this is the moment of application. Is it a fear about your health, maybe your family, your career, or maybe an impending conversation you're dreading? I want you to identify it right now. You do not have to carry it through the rest of this day. You are invited to consciously release that specific fear, visualizing it being exposed and just completely dissolving in that present, constant light we were just talking about. Take a second and mentally hand it over. And that brings us to our final empowering takeaway for the day. Fear grows in darkness, but it cannot survive in light. It is a fundamental rule of this reflection. If you keep your anxieties hidden away in the dark, they will inevitably multiply. That's a given. But the second you expose them to the light we've unpacked today, they totally lose the environment they need to survive. Since God is your light, you are never meant to live in fear. As you wrap up this explainer and step out into your morning, carry that specific visual with you. You are stepping out of the shadow and walking directly into the light. So the only question left to answer is this. When the shadows try to creep back in tomorrow morning, how quickly will you choose to flip the switch?